Norway doesn't feel like a real country. It feels like a world designed by nature without limits. Mountains rising straight from the sea, tiny villages beneath impossible cliffs, roads twisting above the ocean, and skies that sometimes glow long after midnight. Some places are beautiful. Norway feels otherworldly. And once you see it, ordinary landscapes never look the same again. There's something about Norway that changes your understanding of what Earth can look like. It's not just the scale of the scenery or the dramatic contrasts between land and sea. It's the way everything feels simultaneously ancient and untouched, as though you've stepped into a landscape that existed long before humans and will continue long after. The mountains don't just rise. They erupt from the water with geological violence frozen in stone. The valleys don't gently slope. They carve deep into the earth like wounds that never healed. And the light behaves differently here, painting the world in colors that seem impossible anywhere else. Most travelers come to Norway expecting fjords, but what they discover is far stranger. Hidden Arctic villages, waterfalls falling through clouds, cabins beside frozen lakes, roads that seem impossible to build, and landscapes so dramatic they barely look real. Norway reveals itself slowly, layer by layer. First come the postcard images, the fjords, the northern lights, the midnight sun. But then you discover the details that guidebooks rarely capture. The way fog moves through mountain passes like living breath, the sound of absolute silence in remote valleys where no cars pass for hours. The peculiar sensation of standing on a mountain peak and seeing nothing but wilderness in every direction, with the nearest town hidden somewhere far below. This is a country where nature still dominates, where human settlements feel temporary and small, carefully tucked into whatever spaces the landscape permits. If you love discovering extraordinary places, subscribe. There's much more ahead. The fjords begin where Norway feels almost unreal. The fjords. Massive walls of stone plunging into deep blue water, tiny ferries crossing beneath waterfalls, clouds drifting through mountain valleys, and silence so complete, it almost feels cinematic. Places like Fjord don't feel discovered. They feel ancient, untouched, as though nature created them for itself. The fjords were carved by glaciers over millions of years, gouging deep channels through solid rock as ice advanced and retreated with the rhythm of ice ages. What remains are these impossible valleys filled with seawater, some reaching depths of over 4,000 feet, while cliffs tower equally high above. The scale defies easy comprehension. Standing at the edge of a fjord, you're looking at geological time made visible, layers of rock telling stories that span eons, waterfalls cascading from heights that make them turn to mist before reaching the water below. And suddenly, you understand why Norway changes people. But Norway becomes even stranger farther north, the Lofoten Islands. Then come the Lofoten Islands, and the landscape stops making sense. Sharp Arctic peaks rise directly from the ocean. Tiny red fishing cabins glow against icy water. Snow falls beside turquoise beaches. Everything feels impossible. The Lofoten Islands shouldn't exist the way they do. Geography textbooks don't prepare you for mountains this dramatic emerging directly from Arctic waters, or for how the Gulf Stream creates microclimates that keep winter temperatures surprisingly mild despite the extreme northern latitude. These islands stretch across the Norwegian Sea like a jagged spine, each peak more improbable than the last, each fishing village more impossibly situated. Even the light feels different here. At sunrise, the entire coastline glows gold beneath frozen mountains. And in winter, the northern lights sometimes appear above silent villages. It doesn't feel like Europe anymore. It feels like the edge of the world. But Norway hides roads even more unbelievable than its landscapes. Atlantic Ocean Road and Trollstigen. Some roads in Norway barely seem real. The Atlantic Ocean Road leaps from island to island above crashing waves. During storms, the sea explodes around passing cars. Then there's Trollstigen, a mountain road twisting through waterfalls and clouds. Hairpin turns hanging above deep valleys, and viewpoints where the world suddenly feels enormous. Norwegian engineering has produced some of the world's most spectacular roads, not through ambition alone, but through necessity. In a country where mountains and fjords dominate, connecting communities required impossible solutions. The Atlantic Ocean Road bridges 8 kilometers of open ocean, connecting islands through a series of causeways and bridges that curve and rise like a roller coaster built on water. During autumn storms, waves crash completely over the road, forcing temporary closures and reminding everyone that nature merely tolerates this intrusion. In Norway, even the journey becomes part of the wonder. Quick question: would you rather explore Norway's hidden fjords or drive its impossible mountain roads? Tell me in the comments. But Norway changes completely once winter arrives. The northern lights and midnight sun, far above the Arctic Circle. Norway stops behaving normally. In summer, the sun barely sets. Mountains glow gold at midnight. Fishing villages sit beneath skies that never fully darken. Time itself begins to feel strange. The midnight sun is disorienting in ways difficult to predict. Your body expects darkness, expects the day to end, but the light continues. At first, it's exciting, this endless daylight enabling exploration at any hour. Then it becomes surreal. You lose track of time without the usual markers of dawn and dusk. Locals install blackout curtains and develop routines to maintain sleep schedules. But visitors often find themselves awake at 2 a.m., wandering outside because the golden light makes it feel like early evening. Then winter comes, and the darkness returns. But so do the northern lights. Green rivers of light moving silently across frozen skies. And for a moment, Norway feels less like a country and more like another planet. But some of Norway's most unforgettable moments are the quietest. Cabins, villages, and slow life. Hidden beside fjords and forests are tiny Norwegian villages where life still moves slowly. Grass roof cabins, wooden churches, fishing boats rocking gently beside old docks, and mornings filled with mist, cold air, and complete silence. In some places, it feels like modern life never fully arrived. Norway maintains a relationship with its rural heritage that many countries have lost. Small villages scattered across the landscape still function much as they have for generations, fishing, farming in narrow valleys, tending to traditions that urban centers have largely abandoned. The grass roof cabins aren't tourist attractions. They're practical architecture adapted to harsh winters, the sod providing insulation, and the grass roots holding soil in place against wind and rain. Walking through these villages, you sense a different pace. People aren't rushing. Conversations happen in doorways and beside docks. Everyone knows their neighbors because there aren't enough people for anonymity. And the connection to nature isn't philosophical. It's practical, immediate, essential. Weather dictates daily life. Seasons determine activities. The land provides, but only if respected and understood. And maybe that's why travelers remember Norway so deeply. Not only for its epic scenery, but for the feeling of peace it leaves behind. And then there's the food shaped by this harsh landscape. Food and culture. In Norway, nature shapes everything. Even the food. Fresh salmon from icy waters. Arctic cod drying beside fishing villages. Warm cinnamon buns inside tiny cafes while snow falls outside. And mountain cabins serving hearty stews after long days in the cold. Simple, comforting, rooted in survival and tradition. The cafe culture provides necessary warmth during dark winter months. Coffee consumption per capita ranks among the world's highest, and the ritual of kaffe og kaker, coffee and cakes, offers social glue in communities where harsh weather can isolate. Those cinnamon buns, skillful bread, and simple pastries aren't fancy, but they're perfected through generations of refinement, each recipe adapted to local ingredients and tastes. And somehow, those quiet moments become just as memorable as the landscapes themselves. So what makes Norway unforgettable? Maybe it's the contrasts. Frozen Arctic villages, deep blue fjords, silent forests, impossible roads, endless summer light, and skies alive with color in winter darkness. Norway doesn't just look beautiful. It feels powerful, ancient, almost mythical. The mythology that permeates Norwegian culture, trolls, hidden folk, ancient gods, doesn't feel like fantasy here. The landscapes themselves seem mythical, as though giants really did shape the mountains, as though the aurora really does contain spirits. These aren't primitive superstitions but appropriate responses to overwhelming natural beauty, ways of acknowledging that some places transcend ordinary understanding. And maybe that's why people never quite forget it. Because Norway doesn't feel like somewhere you visit. It feels like somewhere you discover. If you enjoyed exploring Norway, subscribe for more journeys like this. And tell me, what part of Norway would you want to experience first?